think we're going to struggle even more than we already are.
So, are you pro-abortion? Are you what is called pro-choice?
I am pro-choice under the premise that I don't think it's always the best first option. However,
not the best what?
I'm sorry?
You said it's not the best what?
I said I don't always think that that's the first option.
Okay.
Right.
But why do you think it's appropriate to murder people in certain circumstances?
Well, I don't think you're murdering them if it's still a fetus.
Why not? Why don't you? Isn't murder the unjust intentional killing of a human being?
So I don't. Only from a public policy perspective, in the sense that like we are spending so much money on kids who are born to single family homes and who don't have parents and live in foster care or don't even get that.
So maybe the onus that you put on the people who have to make that decision. Like they shouldn't be having unprotected sex.
Well, but that is something you're never going to change.
Why not?
So you think it's appropriate?
Why put the burden on the unborn child that didn't make a decision, didn't have a chance to make a decision whether or not they were going to be conceived?
Because that's humans are not capable.
Can you turn that around real quick for me?
Humans are
Does
not.
that not look
capable.
like a human to you? Look at that. There's intestines. It's probably a liver.
They are. And do I want to take someone into this world that I am not going to maintain that level of responsibility to be a good parent?
You got to make that decision before you have the sexual intercourse.
No. It's not going to happen for humans.
Well, it doesn't. They should
separate it from the personal.
They're still obligated to love their children. It doesn't matter if they don't want to love their children. It is their obligation.
They're not going to be good parents because they can't.
So you're saying it's appropriate to murder people because they're going to have bad parents? Like their parents are going to treat them badly?
What I want to do is I want to create a society where anybody who is born has good parents. And if they can't have good parents, I don't want to put up with the broken window theory anymore. So
you're saying it's better to mass murder people than to have people who have bad parents. That's your logic. You're saying it's better to have a society that murders children instead of a society full of people who don't take care of their children well. That's what you're saying? Because like murdering your child is the most. It's like the worst form of child abuse. You're being the worst parent you could possibly be by murdering your child.
Not if you can't bring them into the world in a way that you think is going to be proactive.
They're already in the world.
I'm a parent of two. There was no guarantee when we had our family that I was going to be a great parent. I wanted to be a great parent.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm doing my best. But we also made the choice to have unprotected sex, my wife and I did.
Yeah.
Knowing that we may conceive a child and that we were going to take full responsibility for that child until they were an adult.
Right.
Now, other people choose to have sex unprotected or otherwise, surely knowing that they may conceive a child, but they see abortion as the option to get out of that responsibility.
And what I'm saying is
irresponsible to me.
But it happens, and it's going to continue to happen, right?
And it doesn't justify murdering people.
But why? No. So here's my thing is, if that's going to continue, it's happened for. I mean, before the Dark Ages. I mean, there's people who are.
Happened before,
Oh, it did. I mean, people were.
Why is that relevant? Why even bring that up?
Because one, I think that men are born to procreate, so it's going to be really tough for them to just like not.
That's like almost like justifying rape in some ways, because men are born to procreate. So they gotta satisfy their urges. So why not just let them rape and run around?
No, I think
we
it's
don't
different.
allow that to happen.
I think it's different. I think that there's love or moments in time when you want to make love and share that, and
you need to be responsible. We should create a society in which we're telling people be responsible for your children and don't murder them.
I think we are trying to create a society where that's possible.
Well, not when you encourage abortion.
That's
not when you encourage abortion.
That's enabling irresponsibility right there. When that's legal to happen, that's enabling irresponsibility.
Yeah.
That says you have an option to get rid of what you don't want because you made a bad choice.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
so
what do we do? What do we do with like the mental health issue with the kids that don't have parents? With the kids, that the cost of that, I would rather put that into local education and people who are good parents.
Mental health.
Bringing people in. Oh,
What are you talking about? Like, why is that relevant to the discussion about whether people murder their children or not?
Can you imagine what it's like to wake up at 13 and realize that, like, you have 2 random parents that you don't know about? So I'm just basing it on, like, fact.
But I wonder if you would ask an adult who, if their parents were considering having them aborted, later on, 20 years later, if they had gone back and had the choice, do you think they would have preferred to have been aborted?
Well, any parents that I've talked to who have talked about that discussion have said no, but I also know a lot of parents who have said, look, we weren't financially stable to be able to raise a kid the way that we thought that they deserved to be raised, and we didn't want to force them to be independent sooner than they were required to be independent, and then take on government services as a product of that, which aren't very good, to be fair. I mean, the government services for this, if you're a single kid and you have really bad parents, I mean, you're fucked.
You're trying to justify murder, but you can't do that. Your fundamental problem is that you're not thinking biblically, you're not thinking according to God's law, and God commands us to not murder people, and there's no exceptions to the law against murdering. So you need to follow God's law. That's your problem.
Well, so I think God's law, I think that's interpretable. Because everybody has their own God.
Well, no,
right?
God's law is very clear when it says, thou shalt not murder. It's very clear. And like the God of the Bible is the only one true God. What other gods do you know of that are actually real?
I mean, I don't think that there is actually a true God.
Okay. Well, then, I don't believe there's other...
If you look at history, like, all of the people who performed acts to be God, there's 3 or 4 of them, actually. And then there's even more if you go back to, like, India and China.
So what are your fundamental beliefs about reality? How do you know what's right or what's wrong or what's true or what's not true?
Oh, I think that's morality. That's morality.
Yeah, there's morality, and there's also, like, epistemology, like knowing what's true about reality. And so where do you get that from? How do you know how to treat people well?
I grew up in the church. I mean...
Yeah, and so, what do you now? What is your belief system now?
My belief system now is, I think that there needs to be a level of focus on loving the people that you can love, and being really good parents and really good neighbors to the people that you can be. And I don't think we need to bring more people into this world if we're not capable of, if we are fundamentally vulnerable to being, and there's that level of parenting whenever you get pregnant and work through this, right?
Well, they're already in the world. These children are already in the world, and they need to be good parents by not murdering them. You're a terrible parent when you murder your baby. So you should never say, it's okay to murder your baby, because you're being a terrible parent then. And you're saying we need to love people, but who defines what love is?
Who defines...
Right, what does love mean? Is like a pedophile thinks that love is something very different than what God says love is, right?
I completely agree with you.
Okay, so who's right when we talk about love? Is love just your opinion about what love is, or is there an objective standard for knowing what love is?
I think it's my objective standard.
It's your, well, when you say it's my objective standard, if it's just your opinion about love, then it would be subjective, right? Because other people would have different opinions about love, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Which is why you're debating and I'm debating.
So you're saying that you are the one who determines what true love is? It's your opinion?
No, I mean, because I'm open to debating that, and I'm open to debating what, like, if someone thinks that they have true love, like, I'm not somebody who's going to necessarily question them on that. Like, but if they think they can be a good parent, I think that they are provided with the freedom and the opportunity to be a good parent in this country. If they're not ready to be a parent, then I don't know if we have the institutional mechanisms in place to help these kids if they're born.
They already are parents, though. You're already a parent when you have a baby living in your womb. You're already feeding nutrients and oxygen to your baby. If you're a female, you're being a mother to the child already.
I agree with I agree with you in that sense, but my point is, like, why would we do that to someone?
What to who? Do what to who?
Why would we do that to the kid?
You're saying doing what to the kid?
You think they're still gonna, like, have the chance of becoming president? I mean,
what? Like you're saying think about what we're doing through abortion. Think about what abortion does to a kid. It kills them. It murders them. So like, and you're saying that's appropriate sometimes, right?
I do. I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, and that's not. That's crazy. You think you're justifying murder. You need to stop doing that.
No.
That's not love at all.
No,
that's the opposite of what God says is love.
But we have different gods, right?
Well, who's your God? Yourself?
No,
Do you determine?
I'm not a narcissist.
Well, who's your God?
I mean, I can't really define my God. I think there's a higher spirit.
Yeah. Well, how do you know about that spirit? Where's the information about that? Well, you need revelation. Like, where does that?
Do you really believe all the information that you get from the Bible?
Yeah. Yeah. I need revelation from an all-knowing being to tell me the true nature of reality.
Do you realize how old that is? Like, if we took everything that Donald Trump or Bill Clinton or Ronald Reagan or Jimmy Carter said, literally and contextually, like, we would be in very different places than we are now, because we have a level of morality, and we're going back 2,000 and several years now.
Well, you don't have morality in your worldview. Well, I mean, what is the? If you said you believe in a higher spirit, so where is the morality revealed to you by this higher spirit? How do you know what morality is? How do you know what's right and how do you know what's wrong? Does your higher spirit reveal that to you? Does your higher spirit have any say in that? How do you know? How do you know that it's actually objectively wrong? Like, how do you know it's actually wrong and it should never happen for certain things to happen, like rape or like really evil things? Like,
I think society guides a lot of the morality.
So it's only determined on what a lot of people say in society, and if everybody in society said it's okay to rape people, then it would be good to rape people. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely not, because I think that we have a moral dilemma and we struggle with that, and that we actually debate things, and that's why we've gotten to where we are today.
Well, it's just a bunch of different. It's just a bunch of different opinions, though. There's no sense of progress because there's no standard by which to measure progress, right? Because you can't. If there's just tons of different opinions about what's right and what's wrong, how do you know who's right? How do you know who's wrong? They're all conflicting. They're not all
like your own personal decision.
Right. So then it would just be your opinion, and you can't actually say it's wrong. You can say, all you can say is, I don't like that certain thing. And so, like, when you say, like, I don't.
What have I said
like,
to you to question your own personal opinion that isn't driven by text, that I think is old and archaic? And I mean,
I shouldn't listen to my own personal opinion. I should have listened to God's opinion. That text that you're talking about reveals to us a biblical worldview, a worldview in which we have revelation from an all-knowing being. That worldview makes sense of reality.
Those texts are evolving.
No, they're not. They've been faithfully copied down through the centuries. And God has preserved his word so he can reveal to us the true nature of reality. And if you don't have the true nature of reality revealed to you by an all-knowing being who has all the facts, you can't know the facts, because you could always be wrong, right? Because you don't have the revelation.
So why did God arrive only when we could barely document things and barely communicate things?
Barely document things.
Like, I mean,
they wrote down what happened. They wrote it down and they copied it down.
He was a good personal leader and a real person, but like, even the fact that Mary Magdalene was either raped or she decided to have sex with somebody else.
Mary Magdalene? What do you mean by that? Are you talking about Jesus' mother? Because Mary Magdalene was not Jesus' mother.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jesus was conceived by the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
And
but
like
carried through Mary Magdalene.
No, Mary Magdalene didn't carry him. That was a different Mary. So Mary Magdalene is different from the Mary who was Jesus' mother.
Either way,
you need revelation from the all-knowing being to tell you the true nature of reality, because you could always be wrong because you don't know everything, right? There's always something about reality that you don't know that could invalidate everything you think you know, right?
But I don't think preaching at the corner of a place like Old Town Alexandria is a proactive space for anyone to be, one, getting their opinion across, and two, expressing what they believe to be a calling from a higher being. I mean,
well, how do you know things? How do you know?
Yeah. I'll give you $10 if you want.
I'll take the 10.
Fuck yeah.
No. That'd be awesome.
Oh, fuck, dude, this.
Oh, no, I was just teasing you.
Oh.
Where are you guys so from? Many states.
What do you guys...
I live in Alexandria.
Oh, you do?
Yep, and speaking up for children who are being murdered.
Debating abortion.
So
you need...
a cycle.
What?
I'm riding a cycle. That
Yeah.
I'm neither a proponent or a component of abortion, but I'll entertain a dialogue with you guys.
Well, if you're not against it, then you're normalizing it. If you're not crying out against genocide, you're normalizing genocide when it's happening in your community. It is genocide. It's the unjust killing of human beings, intentional unjust killing of human beings, which is murder.
So I guess my biggest thing is I go from so I look at it a little bit further. He's out. It, like, from a societal perspective, I just think that it's how are we going to become a better world and a better country, even though, I mean, personally, my God doesn't see borders, so I
Well, like, you just made your God up. Like, there's no way to know who your God is. There's no revelation from your God. How do you know that your God exists?
I don't.
You don't?
That's what faith is.
Well, faith isn't just blindly, like, I mean, you could use blind faith, but you shouldn't do that.
How do you know that your God exists?
Because if he didn't exist, I wouldn't be able to know anything. He's the foundation for knowing things.
That's the same answer that I just provided.
Well, no. My God reveals himself, and that's how you have knowledge. Knowledge is justified true belief, and I can't be justified in believing things to be true unless there's revelation from somebody who has all the facts to give me the facts. Because if I trust in myself and what I think and my opinion and my experiences, I'm not an all-knowing being. So I could always be wrong, and I could be deceiving myself. And I don't know the true nature of reality in that worldview. I'm not justified in saying I know what's true in that worldview.
Who's to say that my God isn't talking to me right now too, and I'm just a little bit more humbler?
Well, where is the revelation from your God? What has he said to you?
I'm here right now talking to you.
Yeah, and so what has your God said to you? And how do you know that he said something to you?
So he personally talks to you?
Well, he talks to me through the Bible, and he does talk to people.
Which is a 3,000-year-old text that...
It's the book that gives us the biblical worldview, the only worldview that provides preconditions for intelligibility and a foundation for knowledge in the first place. That's why you should trust in it, because it's revelation from an all-knowing being, instead of trusting in yourself and your own opinions about reality. You don't have a revelation from an all-knowing being in your worldview. That's why your worldview can't make sense of reality, because you could always be wrong. You're not appealing to unlimited consciousness for truth, but I am.
But that is true.
What is your truth? How do you know it's true? How do you know that you exist?
Know it's true.
You don't?
It's true.
Well, you're making statements when you're like debating me.
I haven't made anything that I haven't.
You've made statements about reality. You've made claims about reality.
And what I've said is that it's my opinion, right?
And when you say you're stating that